Welcome back to Learn SKN, and we're in January. New Year, Happy New Year to everybody. It's 2025, and so you know what that means. Exams are around the corner. At least the January cycle is around the corner. In fact, I'm recording this on January 5th, and so therefore exams starts January the 6th, so that's tomorrow, Monday. So I just want to do a quick video to share just a few pointers for persons who are going to be answering some of those, structured questions. So there's a few pointers, because sometimes as an educator, as a teacher, you are administering an exam, and when marking the exam, you see certain things that kind of irk you a bit, right? I'm going to share some more videos about some of my, top things that kind of annoy me as a marker, as a teacher, when I'm marking an exam or an assessment, right? But tonight, I'm just here to give you some pointers as to how to answer some of these questions, because believe it or not, some students at CXC level, at CAPE level, they still don't really understand some of the instructions that are given to answer the questions. And so that's what I'm here to give you today. So let's just jump into it. So this document you see before you was given in a teacher workshop for CAPE MOB. But don't let that stop you, because some of the pointers here also applies to MOB, applies to entrepreneurship, applies to POB at CSEC level. Most of CXC in general, right? It's a CXC thing, because the chief examiner who gave that particular workshop. So let's just dig into it. So overview of assessment strategies. What I want to really dig into is this part here, this section here, because again, a lot of persons tend to be very confused about some of these words that you see here on the screen and how to approach these words when you see them in a question. So list of verbs to guide your responses. So please note that all marks allocation for different instructions given by questions. So let's go. A, list. One of the simplest ones. So look at the 1 markers. List, identify, state. Those are the 1 markers. It always annoys me when we see a question that's worth 4 marks or more, and students are listing. Like, how much marks do you expect to get out of the 4, out of the 6, out of the 8? You're going to get 1 for each listing. So that's something that tends to kind of annoy me when I'm marking. I'm like, discuss, explain, and I'm seeing bullet points, listing, right? That can't fly. List means list. 1 worders. Identify might be a phrase. State, a little phrase, a little sentence, right? So state 1 whatever, or list the factors that of production. Identify factors of production, whatever you want to do. But those are 1 markers right there, right? So let's look at some real life examples here. So we're looking at the January 2023 paper. Number 1. State, right there you see state, 1 marker, right? State 2 responsibilities of management to each of the stakeholders below, right? So you're stating 2. That is where you get 2 marks. So right here, you see the mark, you see the lines I'm here? You have 2 lines, 2 lines. So you're going to state the responsibilities of 2 complete, well, at least 1 complete sentence, right? For each. So state 2 responsibilities of management, okay. 1 responsibility of management or to customers, responsibilities of management to the customers would be to give them a fair price for their goods, right? And next one, a safe shopping environment or a safe environment to conduct working in. To employees, to pay them a fair wage, right? So all that 1 complete thought is 1 mark. And next complete thought is the next mark. So employees, pay them a fair wage, that's 1 complete thought. And then to make sure they're working in a safe environment, next complete thought. 1 mark each. That is why you get the 2 marks. State. Identify, an X, 1 marker. Identify 2 stakeholders of a business other than the customers and the employees. Right? So 2 stakeholders of the business. So we're looking at government is a stakeholder. Government is a stakeholder. And of course, the community, society at large, is a stakeholder. So the community, the government, right? So that's identifying it. That's 1 mark each. So you could see how the marks are allocated, right? So that's state, that's identify, list. State, identify, list. Even here on the MOB paper, we're looking at discuss. We don't reach here yet, but we're moving down the line. We're looking at the 1 markers, right? So for sure, listing, identifying, and stating, those are 1 markers. Next one, up the ranks, 2 marks now. Define. Every definition for CSEC, for MOB, CXC in general, is a 2 marker, right? 2 marks. Each point must give new information about the concept, right? So for example, let's say photosynthesis. What is the definition of photosynthesis? The process by which plants make their food. Okay, fine. But the process by which green plants use sun to manufacture their own food. So you have to keep adding to it the definition to complete it, so you can get the proper marks for that definition. You can't just give it the first part of it and expect that you are going to get full marks. CXC only mark in whole numbers, so there's no half mark, all whole marks, right? So if you stop short, you're not going to get any 1.5. You're going to get 1. So understand that definitions always carry 2 marks. Look at this question right here. Define the term market as it relates to marketing. So a market is a group of buyers and sellers. Okay? 1 mark. Group of buyers and sellers, 1 mark. Of what? A group of buyers and sellers of a particular product. You have to complete it, right? You have to complete the definition, right? Or if you want to say marketing on a whole, a market on a whole is any situation that brings a buyer and seller into contact. 1 mark. To transact business, right? So you have to complete the thought to get those 2 marks, right? So you can see how definition can garner 2 marks. Then we move up the ranks again. Outline. Now this one normally trips up a lot of people, because a lot of people tend to give me listing, stating for an outline. Just as the name suggests, an outline, you just identify and then you put a little small development, a little skeletal structure, a little outline, not the whole thing. We're not going into depth, right? So 2 marks, 1 mark for identification and 1 mark for development of the point. This is not just 2 random points, right? So you have to identify whatever you want to outline and then say a little thing about what it is. This look, outline one way in which stakeholders in the tourism industry may benefit from cottage production, right? So we're talking about, okay, one way in which they can benefit would be to gain or obtain foreign exchange, right? So one way in which a stakeholder in the tourism industry may benefit from a cottage production is by obtaining foreign exchange when they sell their product, the authentic products, to the tourists, right? So you have to understand that outline, and look, CXC gives you the amount of lines you need to get the point across. They're not going to give you a whole long paragraph thing to get 2 points. So you have to identify what they're asking you to do. So identify the words, the key verbs that they want you to do, and identify the marking scheme, and then identify the allotted space, because those are telling signs as to how you should proceed. So outline 2 marks, you identify, so foreign exchange, and develop by selling their products to tourists, they can earn foreign exchange. Then we're going up the ladder still, F, describe. Describe, 3 marks. So 1 mark for identification and 2, develop 2 points, right? So in outline, we're talking about develop 1 point. In describe, we're talking about identification, and then develop 2 points, at least 2 points for that, so you can get the full marks for that question when they ask about describing. If you look at the MOB question here though, describe how Mr. Jack should conduct the function of management known as controlling. So we're asking about to describe one thing in particular, the function of management, which is controlling. So you get the 3 marks for that one, because 1 they're asking for. Whereas over in the POB question, they were asking for 2. And so you see the difference right there. All right, so that's describe. Then we have explain, 3 marks. How explain works again now? 1 mark for identification and 2 marks for explanation, and 2 for explanation. So looking at this POB question here, explain 2 strategies that the management of New Harbor Garment Factory could implement to improve communication within the organization. And so we're looking at 6 marks because 2 you have to explain, right? You have to do this, so you have to apply the same strategy to each of them, which is to identify. So 1 mark for identification of the strategy and 2 for the explanation, right? So you identify the strategies and then you have to explain that strategy, right? So that is how we deal with explanation. 3 marks, identify and explain. And then we have one of the big dogs. One of the big dogs are always kind of mix up students. Discuss. 4 marks for discuss. 1 mark for identification and 3 for the discussion. Right? So you have to break it down. You have to identify whatever they're asking to be discussed. And then you have to break it down, whether it is you are giving from both angles. Remember your discussion. Sometimes you have to give pros, cons, give examples, 1 example. Right? So you have to really engage in the discussion about that particular topic. So you can't just simply, and I've answered a lot of questions on the channel, so you can go to those questions and see how we approach them. But when you're discussing, you have to identify whatever the topic is of discussion, and then give 3 marks for the actual discussion. And within the discussion, we're talking about different angles, pros, cons. If this happen, then that might happen. Both, different sides of the same coin, that kind of thing. Right? So you can't just give 1 side of the argument. You might have to give 2 sides of the argument. Right? Like, this might happen, whereas if this doesn't happen, this would happen then. You know, that kind of thing? So that is how the discussions would take place in for these kind of questions. Look at this question here. Discuss 2 benefits of foreign direct investment to the host country. So you have to identify the benefit. So let's say we're looking at jobs, right? Jobs, employment. And then you have to proceed to say, okay, when the companies invest in the host country, they're able to hire locals to do the jobs that they would have developed, and so they can help to reduce unemployment within that country, right? It's as simple as that. You might say, okay, increasing revenue from taxes for government, right? So that's what you identify, then you proceed to explain, right? Because corporate tax, those kind of things, import duties, all those kind of taxes can help to increase government revenue as these foreign companies import their materials, as they obtain profit and the government get a part of the profit, etc., etc. Right? So you have to be able to understand what they are asking for and give them the necessary answer. In MOB, discuss the importance of each of the following stages in the performance management cycle towards increasing quality output among the computer repair technicians based on the above case study. Goal setting. And you see the marking scheme, resource allocation. And so that's 2, 3. And so if it's 3 and it's 4 marks each, right? 3 4s, that's 12. And so the same way, you have to break it down. Okay, resource allocation, you have to break, so you identify the importance and then proceed to explain what they are asking for. So as a quick video, I went longer than I thought, but as a video just to outline how some of these verbs and instructions can guide you in answering your questions for your exams. Alright, so like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when I drop a next video. That can help with your exam prep.